What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB, and more specifically, an episode of Let's Talk Dynasty. As you can tell, I got my AFC East jersey on today, the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen. We are going to be talking about that division, breaking it down for Dynasty Fantasy Football. As always, if you are not subscribed to the channel, make sure you're subscribed, and if you missed any of the other divisions and you want to go back and watch those, I strongly encourage you to go do that. We love doing these videos, and I think they're very beneficial for people who play Dynasty Fantasy Football, so go check them out. But with that being said, it would not be an episode of Let's Talk Dynasty without my co-host, so let's get MFGDs into the building and start talking about the AFC East. War, how we doing today?
It's time to turn up in this piece. AFC, NFC, let's go.
Let's get it, man. I'm not going to beat around the bush. Let's hop right into the first team. The first team is going to be the New York Jets. Now, they are projected a win total of 5.5 games here. Last year, they went 5-12, finished third place in the AFC East, but are projected to be the last place team here in 2025. When I'm looking at coaching changes for the Jets, Aaron Glenn and Tanner Engstrand were both hired as the head coach and the offensive coordinator after previously working with the Detroit Lions and their staff. In the offseason, you lose Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Tyler Conklin. You add guys like Justin Fields, Mason Taylor, and Josh Reynolds. And in the top 250 of Superflex ADP, you have guys like Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Justin Fields, Braylon Allen, Mason Taylor, and Isaiah Davis. Let's start off the conversation where I think most people probably want us to start the conversation, and that's the running back position. You have guys like Breece Hall who have been deemed as a buy low at points during the offseason, but it seems like as we're getting closer and closer to the regular season, guys like Braylon Allen are getting buzzed. Guys like Isaiah Davis are getting buzzed. When you look at this backfield, how are you currently feeling about the situations here in New York?
Okay, so when it comes to the Jets backfield, I kind of feel like the backfield in itself is like the opposite of Dallas's backfield. Where in the sense that in Dallas, everybody's a jag in the backfield. But I think this one, if the top guy gets injured, the next guy will come in and be productive. If the next guy gets injured, the next guy will come in and be productive. I think that they have a good stable of running back. That's truly what I think. I think Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, and Isaiah Davis are good. But I think that it would take an injury to Breece Hall and then subsequently Braylon before, all three of those guys get it. But I think whoever got the rock in the backfield is going to be able to perform. We've been seeing people fade Breece Hall all off season. I do not think that is a wise thing to do, especially for some of the prices we've been seeing him getting sold for. But do not be fooled by the Braylon Allen buzz and start thinking, let me trade Breece Hall because Braylon Allen is only going to be productive if Breece Hall is out of the picture.
I don't know if I fully agree with that. I think Braylon Allen is going to be involved. I think it's a matter of how much. To me, I do believe Breece Hall is the better pass catching back. I do think he still has some ability to be a goal line guy and some other stuff. Braylon's going to be interesting, and I think this is one of the most interesting running back conversations in all of Dynasty right now. Like, is Breece going to be able to hold off the talent behind him? Because I do think Braylon is super talented, and is this regime, a regime that did not draft Breece Hall, going to find a reason to keep him, or are they going to move on to the next guy? Whether that be Braylon or not, I don't know, because they didn't draft him either. But I think there's an interesting conversation to be had here. I still like Breece at his current value. Getting him at RB12, you're getting him at low-end RB1 numbers, high-end RB2 prices sometimes, depending on your league. He's an interesting case, man. I think I'm interested at cost, but I'm cooling on Breece just ever so slightly from where I was earlier in the offseason.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I do think Braylon Allen is going to get some touches. He's not going to be irrelevant, but I'm talking about you have people who are just like, let me get Braylon Allen or let me trade away Breece Hall because Braylon Allen is about to take over this backfield. I'm saying that I don't think that's the mindset they should have. Yes, he's going to get some touches, but I don't think that he's going to supplant Breece Hall as the running back one of the team. Like, I don't think he's going to do that. And I think we could both agree that this regime didn't draft most of these guys. I can tell you right now, when the contract time comes up, these guys aren't getting paid.
Well, Breece's contract's coming up right now. Like, this is the year.
This is probably it. So if you want to get Braylon Allen, like in that sense, like let me get him because they're not going to pay Breece to stay. I don't think they're going to pay Breece, dude.
Well, it was very interesting. He had a quote that came out the other day where he said, because they were asking about Kyron Williams and James Cook, and they were asking about, Braylon or Breece's thoughts on those contracts. And his statement was pretty interesting. It was something along the lines of like, I haven't done what those guys have done. in their careers. I haven't produced the way that those guys have produced. So they deserve the money. I haven't shown my team any reason to give me the money, which is a very interesting statement, I think, from a guy in a contract year. Me personally, when I'm going to the negotiation table, I don't want to give my front office
Yeah.
any reason not to pay me. And when I'm saying it out of my own damn mouth of I haven't done it yet, so obviously that's why I haven't been paid, I don't want to say that. I don't want to give him any reason. Now I understand the humility of it, and maybe he's using it as motivation as to I got to go out here and prove it this year. I just think you can say that in a way that's not I haven't produced.
Yeah, that was some real Carry-On Johnson type shit he said. Like, you remember that shit Carry-On Johnson said, Andrew? Like, when he said some shit like, "Oh yeah, I don't want to be the bell cow. I want to split carries." Like,
Yeah,
it's
dude,
like,
it was
don't,
something
don't say
along
that.
those lines, and it was like, bro, you're not supposed to say that, dude.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I don't know.
especially when you're a running back. When you're a running back, you can't give them an inch because they'll take a whole fucking yard.
Yeah, bro, they probably just cut $4 million off of your contract extension because you said that stupid shit in the press conference. But
Yep, they'll be like, "Yeah, you said that you shouldn't get paid, so why are we gonna pay you?"
yeah, so now we're gonna offer you $7 million a year, $8 million a year instead of 10. We were thinking about doing 10, but you said you didn't produce. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I like Braylon though. I think he's interested. I tried to get him thrown into a deal the other day, and I get what you say where like some people are acting like Braylon's like gonna be him because I asked for Braylon and it was like, oh, I can't throw Braylon into this deal at all. I was like, it's Braylon Allen, bro. Like it's another like handcuff upside running back. No, I can't throw Braylon into a deal. Okay, all right then. Let's swap it out for another handcuff running back like Tajay Spears. Like I don't really care, but I prefer Braylon because of the age. But yeah, there's definitely some hype around Braylon Allen and Breece Hall. That said, let's talk a little bit about the two receiving options. You have Garrett Wilson and Mason Taylor. Outside of those two guys, there's nobody here. Josh Reynolds is the wide receiver too. Taylor brought in as tight end, the rookie. A rookie in this year's NFL draft. Garrett Wilson just got paid handsomely to be the long-term wide receiver one. How do you feel about these two guys? Like, are you interested in Taylor in Dynasty? And do you still believe that Garrett Wilson can produce top wide receiver one numbers with a guy like Justin Fields?
I'm interested in Taylor. I think Taylor is unheralded and very overlooked in this tight end class that has Warren and Loveland. I think he does deserve more fanfare than what he's been getting. And I think as one of the lone pass catchers on this offense, I think that he does deserve like some type of acknowledgement and to be on rosters. Garrett Wilson, he is almost the wide receiver version of Breece Hall. He's been faded all throughout the offseason. We've seen him traded countless of times on our trade shows. And I think it's mainly because Justin Fields is the quarterback. But think of it like this. He's produced and he hasn't really had a quarterback this entire time. So, why fade him now? At least now he has a quarterback that he put up amazing numbers with at Ohio State. So, I mean, at least there's that. So, honestly, think you can see like a step forward for Garrett Wilson this season.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. I was just pulling up Garrett Wilson's numbers right now, actually, because when you look at the last couple of years for him, wide receiver 11 last year, that was with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams on the team. Adams was competing for touches here, and there's less competition this year. Then you had the year before, obviously didn't give us the numbers we wanted in PPR. He was the wide receiver 26, and the year before the wide receiver 21. Those are with Zach Wilson under center. Is Justin Fields a better quarterback than Zach Wilson? I think so. So like you got to have somewhere in the middle. Last year's PPR wide receiver 10 with Zach Wilson 21. He's being drafted as 14. I think we're right where we need to be. I don't think he's undervalued or overvalued. I think he's right where he's at. And if you don't believe in Justin Fields, fine. You can move laterally, but I think Garrett Wilson's still going to be a fine wide receiver. And I still think he's a guy that's going to see 140 plus targets in this Jets offense.
Yeah, 100%. And if for no other reason besides, like, who the hell else are they going to pass the ball to?
Yeah, unless you think you're just going to run it all day long. But I'll tell you what, the Jets are not going to be in competitive game scripts where they're going to be able to run with the clock, like draining the clock where they're up. They're not going to be able to do that. They're going to have to throw the football. So Garrett Wilson's going to be the guy. And maybe at this point in time, it's a little bit of, I remember for years, we talked about DJ Moore and Terry McLaurin of like, these guys are so talented if we could just get them a quarterback. That was a conversation for years. And I feel like Garrett Wilson is kind of the new age DJ Moore. Such a talented player, never has the quarterback play. But maybe this year we get that reunited college Ohio State type of vibe, and maybe Justin Fields just feeds the hell out of Garrett Wilson.
I can see it. I can see it. And honestly, as somebody wearing a Justin Fields jersey, I want to see it.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. All right, let's go on to the next team here. The next team is going to be the New England Patriots. Now, looking at the Patriots, they have a projected win total of 8.5 games here in 2025. Last year, during the 2024 season, they went 4-13, finished 4th place in the AFC East. This offseason, they hired head coach Mike Vrabel, who previously obviously worked with the Tennessee Titans. They brought Josh McDaniels back for another stint as the Patriots offensive coordinator. And as far as offseason departures, they lose Joe Milton. Not a big loss for them, considering they have Drake Maye sitting there as franchise quarterback. The offseason additions, though, TreVeyon Henderson in the NFL draft, Kyle Williams in the NFL draft, and Stephon Diggs in free agency. Looking at the top 250 players in Superflex KTC ADP, you have guys like Drake Maye, TreVeyon Henderson, Kyle Williams, Stephon Diggs, Demario Douglas, Ramondre Stevenson, Hunter Henry, and Kayshon Boutte sitting there at the end, bringing up the rear. Look, man, I just tried to sneak that in there. I just tried to sneak it in.
Yeah, that was like a triple entendre you just used.
The end, Boutte, bringing up the rear. Yeah, I mean, we try to throw everything in there. At the end of the day, though, man, I'm looking at this team, and I think we have 3 major discussions here.
Mm-hmm.
1, the running back room with Ramondre Stevenson and TreVeyon Henderson. 2, the wide receiver room and how we think this can pan out with their hodgepodge of guys. And then the third conversation is the Drake Maye sophomore conversation. Let's start it off with the wide receivers. Kyle Williams is the highest in ADP, followed by Stephon Diggs, Demario Douglas, and Kayshon Boutte. When you look at these 4 guys, and you have other guys on the roster like last year's Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, and some of the other dudes, Mac Hollins is here now too. How do you think this wide receiver room is going to shake out, and where are you the most interested in?
I'll be 100% honest with you. Outside of Kayshon Boutte, I think the Pop Douglas, Stephon Diggs, Kyle Williams, either 3 of those guys could end up being the leader in that wide receiver room. I could make argument for them. Who do I trust? Honestly, who do I trust the most out of the 3? Believe it or not, I trust Pop Douglas the most out of all 3 of those guys. I trust him the most. Yes. I trust his connection with Drake Maye. I know that at the minimum, he has a floor of a bye week fill-in flex. That's his floor. Like, his floor is just like, okay, we got some people on bye. Let's throw him in there in the flex spot. I trust him the most. Stephon Diggs is like, what are we getting after the injury? What is he doing with the pink stuff? Like, just so what is he doing with Cardi B? Like we don't know what's going on with Stephon Diggs. I thought he was going to be ready for week 1. Now they don't know if he's going to be ready for week 1. I don't know what's going on with Stephon Diggs, so I can't 100% trust him. Kyle Williams is who I'm highest on. So I trust Demario Douglas the most, but I'm highest on Kyle Williams. I think Kyle Williams has a chance to go out there and surprise some people, and ultimately it's going to come down to who has the best connection with Drake Maye. And I just kind of feel like Stephon Diggs is there as a veteran that's reliable, but he's kind of unreliable. I know he has an ongoing relationship with Demario, and Kyle, he just got there, so we'll see. But I think Demario Douglas isn't my sleeper, but he should have been my sleeper.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this offense, and I think the way that I would project it this year is I think Stephon Diggs is the most valuable wide receiver for fantasy this year. Kyle Williams will be the guy that I'm the most interested in from a dynasty lens. And I think Douglas is going to be fine. Like you said, a flex guy, maybe a little bit of sneaky slot work that he's going to get here. Guys like Boutte and the other guys, like, if you want to throw them on the back end of your roster, fine. I think Kayshon Boutte is the guy that I would be the most intrigued about with all of the other options here. But I still don't really, feel like I need to put a ton of them on my roster. I like the way that the ADP is shaken out, like Williams over Diggs and then Douglas. I like that. I think that's fine. But I think Diggs is going to produce this year, and I think he's going to be a big benefit to everybody. I mean, I think a lot of people don't understand, and maybe it's because you've seen the Diggs crash outs on live television before. Like, that's what people have seen. I think he is as good of a veteran presence as anybody could ask for in an offense like this. Like, he's going to really help Drake Maye. He's going to really help Kyle Williams. He's going to help everybody here. I think he's think he is going to be the glue for this team trying to take that step forward offensively. He's going to be part of the reason why. It's like having a coach on the football field with you. And he's just a dog too. Like he just has that dog mentality. We'll see what happens with the recovery from the injury. How much does that limit him physically? But I think mentally he's checked in. He's ready to be there. So I like this. When I'm looking at the running back room, Henderson and Stevenson, I mean, I'm very high on Henderson. I liked Henderson pre-draft. I think he's going to be super, super fantasy football relevant as a rookie. He has traits to me that are Jahmyr Gibbs-like. Like, I think he has Gibbs-like traits. Every time he touches the football, he has the ability to house that shit from anywhere on the field. And that's just going to make him dangerous for fantasy. However, saying that, I still think Stevenson's going to be involved at least early on in the season where he's getting a couple of touches. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, he'll have a little role. I think it'll be a lot like Bucky Irvin and Rashad White.
Early in the year last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like as the season went on, they kind of phased White into just a change of pace role.
Yeah.
I could totally see that. How do you feel about Henderson? I mean, I just talked about I name dropped Gibbs in comparison to him. I mean, you don't have anything to say about Henderson?
No, I like Genty, I like Hampton, I like Henderson, and I like RJ Harvey. I like all those guys. I think he could be like you said about the Cowboys in our other video. I think that Henderson could be Temu great value Jahmyr Gibbs, which is still pretty damn good.
I mean, when we were in the pre-draft process, just looking at tape and giving prospect grades before landing spot, before draft capital was considered, Henderson was my second favorite running back in the class. It was Genty and then Henderson. It wasn't Hampton. Hampton, because he got the Los Angeles landing spot and the round 1 draft capital, moved him over Henderson. But I liked Henderson's tape more than I liked Hampton's. So I think he's going to be very special. When I look at Drake Maye, QB7, he's very high in rankings right now. People are basically, we've baked in the breakout already to Drake Maye's cost. Looking across the board, he's like right there with Jalen Hurts and Pat Mahomes right now. Are we jumping the gun on Drake Maye, or do you believe that the breakout is imminent?
Yeah, we jumping the gun on Drake Maye. And that's okay. I think it's one of those situations where I'll tell you like this. It's one of those situations where it's like the light version of what you said about Jaden Daniels, where in a sense that like he's already QB7. You probably should get in on him now before he actually does before the real breakout happens. Right now, he's still he could break out mode. But if he actually break out, it's going to be impossible to get him on your roster if you don't already have him. So I mean,
I agree.
I do have some concerns about Josh McDaniels and like shit like that, but we'll see how it goes.
I think for me, the problem here is like we get into this range where it's like guys like Daniels, right? Like we've seen him produce at a top 5 fantasy football quarterback before. When we're drafting Drake Maye now, like he has to break out. Otherwise, we're taking a loss. Because if he doesn't break out, you're passing up on proven elite talent, or you're drafting him alongside it. And so it gets scary for Maye. I love Drake Maye. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I think he is going to break out this year, and I think he has a step forward waiting. But we're at a price tag now where when you are investing, you are inheriting a lot of risk with the investment.
Yeah, and we'll see. We'll see if the investment pays out. I mean, is he going to be one of those crypto coins that like can
pull the rug on him?
Yeah, or something like that. And one more note on TreVeyon Henderson. Like, because I couldn't remember this at the time. I don't know if you remember, because I think we were on video during the draft, or if we just did the first round or whatever. But TreVeyon Henderson, the Bears really wanted TreVeyon Henderson. They really wanted TreVeyon Henderson, and that made me think about it when you said this comparison to Jahmyr Gibbs. Who was Jahmyr Gibbs' coach? Ben Johnson was offensive coordinator. So I think like there may be a little something there to your comp.
Yeah, they have lightning quick agility. Like the ability for them to take off, the acceleration is insane. So that's kind of where I see the similarities, and just that home run speed. Whether it's playing drafts or sweating pick'ems, there's no off season on Underdog, which means there's still plenty of ways to cash in big this summer. No matter the sport you're watching, Underdog has you covered, and all you have to do is pick higher or lower on your favorite athletes from whatever sport. Put them into a pick'em entry, watch the winning multiplier increase, click play, and win real cash. So what are you waiting for? Download Underdog and start playing today. Plus, when you use promo code LeagueFFB, Underdog will give you a new customer special, which is a free square for your first pick'em entry, and they will give you up to $1,000 in bonus cash, giving you the perfect head start to winning big on Underdog. So if you want to support our show and get in on some daily fantasy sports action, click the link in our description to sign up for Underdog using code LeagueFFB. So thank you to our sponsors over at Underdog, and with that out of the way, let's get back into the action. But let's move on to the next team in this division. We're going to the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins have a projected win total of 8.5 games as well. Last year in 2024, they went 8-9, finished second in the AFC East. No coaching changes for the Dolphins. It's back to business for them. As far as offseason departures, you have guys like Jonnu Smith and Raheem Mostert, who have been parts of the team for the last couple of years, now gone. They've added guys like Ollie Gordon, Zach Wilson, and Quinn Ewers, maybe just investing in the backup quarterback position because of Tua's unavailability at times. What am I talking about? And then looking at the Superflex KTC top 250, you have guys like Achane, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Tua, Jalen Wright, and Ollie Gordon the second. It's a very consolidated list, short list, but it does have some star-studded names. Let's start the conversation here at the wide receiver position because I think it's the most interesting. Jalen Waddle has surpassed Tyreek Hill in Dynasty ADP.
That's interesting.
It is very interesting because Tyreek Hill, I think, is still viewed as by the Dolphins as their wide receiver one, but the Dynasty community has kind of given us the indication that they are out on Tyreek now. They think the end is near after last year's down year. And I'm just interested in knowing your thoughts kind of on Tyreek and I guess Jalen Waddle as well, considering this is your son, man.
Oh man. Okay, I'll start with Tyreek. I mean, how do we determine how somebody is done? Do I think Tyreek is done as in like production, NFL, help NFL team? No, I don't think Tyreek Hill is done in that capability. I do think Tyreek is done as like an automatic like 20 plus point per week fantasy. Like 2 seasons ago was our league FFB, Let's Talk Dynasty
Wide
MVP.
receiver of the year.
Yeah, wide receiver of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So he's not the cheat code anymore.
Yeah, no. I do have questions on whether or not Waddle has surpassed him because I'm not sure if Tua is going to, give Waddle the targets as if he's passed Tyreek Hill. And I'll tell you another thing. If that comes to pass, if Waddle starts to get out-target Tyreek Hill will 100% ask to be moved to a different team. So then you're talking about something else. Now you're talking about what team is he moved to because that could drastically have an impact on his value. As for Waddle, here's the thing, and we said in another video. Waddle has been the Robin to Tyreek Hill's Batman for a number of seasons now. And now he's in his age 27 year. He's going to turn 27, which you could say that's a lot of wide receivers prime, that little range. But if Tyreek Hill doesn't go somewhere else, or if Waddle doesn't take the number one wide receiver spot from Tyreek Hill this season, then we're looking at a situation where he's pushing 30. He never got his chance. You always know with Waddle, you're going to get 2 things in the season. You're going to have games that he misses completely, and you're going to have games where he's in and out the lineup during the game itself. That's just a part of the Jaden Waddle experience. He's going to get hurt. He's either going to play hurt or he's going to not play at all. And if he plays hurt, you're going to get single-digit fantasy weeks, and then you're going to put him on your bench, and he's going to have a 20-point game, and you're going to be like, what the fuck? And that's just the Jalen Waddle experience. But what will make that experience a little bit better is if Tyreek Hill wasn't there. So that's where I'm at on those 2 guys.
Yeah, I mean, I do think we're going to have a closer than usual split between Waddle and Tyreek. I think we are going to see a bounce back. I think a lot of this is narrative driven, but it all makes sense. Tyreek's wrist injury last year, he had to have 2 surgeries. Then you have Tyreek who goes out in the offseason and says, I'm done. I don't want to play with those guys. Blah, 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 blah. Trade me. me, I'm out. And then he's like, oh, actually, just kidding, guys. Like, I'm going to come back to the team. And then Tua kind of checks him in an interview in a way and says, like, you can't just show back up and act like everything's cool. Like, you got to work back to building those relationships back up. Like, when you say, like, I'm done with these dudes, I don't want to play with these dudes, blah, 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 you can't just show back up. Like, what are you doing? You have to build that back up. And then we get reports now a little bit of, like, Jalen Waddle's breaking out in camp. Jalen Waddle's having a good camp. It's like, is it petty Tua season? Like, is Tua about to be petty and, hey, Tyreek, you want it out. I'm going to show you why you should have left because you can't just show back up and blah, blah, blah. Like, you know what I'm saying? But and that's narrative driven. I think he's still going to get the guy the football if he needs to. But I think relationships and bridges have been burned in Miami. And I think Tyreek is sitting here the odd man out.
I'll tell you this, man. That team is fucking dysfunctional. They're dysfunctional, Andrew. And you know I know because the Bears just had joint practice with them like last week. And Tua was getting picked off left and right. We were sunning the Dolphins like in the joint practice. And then we didn't play our starters in the preseason game. And it still ended up as a tie. So that team's dysfunctional. I really like Mike McDaniel. Unfortunately, I feel like he's going to lose his fucking job. That team's dysfunction. And I think you could lay that dysfunction at the feet of Tyreek Hill and Tua Tagovailoa. Yeah, you said that it's petty season. Is it petty season for Tua? It needs to be guardian cap season for Tua because then that's going to be in these players' back of the mind. When is he going to get hurt? When is he going to get hurt? Is he going to get hurt? And I just don't think they fuck with Tyreek Hill at this point. I'm pretty sure privately a lot of those guys are like, can we get him the fuck out of here?
Yeah, it's probably behind in closed doors. It's probably a lot of fuck Tyreek, bro. Like we don't mess with him like that anymore. And honestly, I don't blame him. Tyreek has never really been the team guy, right? Like he hasn't really ever been the team guy. He's been a distraction and he's been super talented, and that's, it is what it is. But
and he's still in love with his ex, the Chiefs. So
when it comes to Mike McDaniel, I have a theory. I wouldn't put too much weight on it, but the funny guy persona, the unserious persona, I think it rubs off on the team. I think it's hard to be a leader of men in a football league in the NFL like this, being the funny guy. It works as the offensive coordinator. It doesn't work as the head coach. And I think that's why sometimes guys have a hard time. I would say the Dolphins have had a hard time buying in to Mike McDaniel. His offenses have worked. He's a great offensive play caller. Sometimes it's a little gimmicky, but he's a good offensive play caller. I just don't think the teams are buying in to Mike McDaniel. So I'm with you. I think he's on the hot seat. I think he's probably going to get fired here shortly. When it comes to Tua is a very talented quarterback, and he's very underrated when he is healthy and on the football field. Quite honestly, the production level that he gives you is going to outperform where you have him at. The reason why his value is here is because of what you said. There's always the fear in real life and in fantasy that if I have Tua on either of those teams, my fantasy team or the Dolphins in general, when is he going to miss time? Because most of the time he's going to miss time. Like that is the fear with Tua. So it's tough. He's a value to me in drafts. I still like Tua. I think you just have to inherently understand that if I have Tua, I'm going to get a guy that flirts with QB1 weeks for 12 weeks of the season, and probably 6 weeks of the season he's missing time.
You got to have a contingency plan.
So that's just kind of where I'm at with him. Let's move on to the running backs though, because you have Achane, who is like by far and away the most valuable asset in here. It's a 50 ADP gap between him and Waddle. And then you have Jalen Wright and Ollie Gordon, who are kind of the backups here that are going to be fighting for touches, I think, this year in 2025. How do you feel about Achane, and how do you feel about, the two other guys here?
And I know we differ on the other two guys, but I'll say Achane after Bijan, and after Bijan and Gibbs, I got Achane, man.
Over Genty?
Yeah, over Genty, over Saquon, over Henry. I got Achane that high. I think the only thing that let me put an asterisk next to that. He'll fall behind Saquon and Genty if something happens to Tua, because we already seen what he looks like with Tua not out there. Yeah. So if it's some other quarterback, then yeah. So if he misses those 6 games that you're talking about, then yeah, we're gonna get Timu Achane playing as himself. And if something happens to Achane, Jalen Wright is a league winner. I know you feel like he's going to have a role with Achane there. And he probably will, to be honest, because that's how Mike McDaniels does his thing. He likes to use multiple running backs and giving
He's
Achane
from that
size.
Shanahan tree where they just have a bunch of running backs.
Yeah, and from that Shanahan, from not that Shanahan, from and with Achane's size, it makes sense too. But I will say that I seen Jalen Wright the other day preseason, did not look super impressive. Ali Gordon, he's worth having on the roster. The best option is to have all three of those guys. So if you got all three of them, that's a good thing. And that's how I feel super high on Devon Achane for the season.
Yeah, I'm very high on HN as well. I think he's going to be a superstar for fantasy this year, as long as Tua is healthy. The argument that I would bring up for why there may not be as big of a fall off for HN this year, if there is a Tua injury, is them bringing in Zach Wilson. You can point the finger towards Breece Hall's best receiving seasons as a running back were when Zach Wilson was under center. Zach Wilson checked the football down a lot to Breece Hall, and that's kind of where HN makes his money, as the receiving check down option. So yes, there is still probably going to be a fall off because I don't expect the offense to score as much, but I think Wilson is still going to check the football down more than guys like Tyler Huntley and Skylar Thompson did last year. So I still like Achane there. I'm with you. You kind of want a piece of the running back room here, no matter who it is, whether it's Wright or Gordon or HN. You just want somebody, because I think anybody who gets touches in this backfield should be pretty solid, given the opportunity. I like Jalen Wright to kind of spell Achane a little bit as like an early down grinder. Think of the Raheem Mostert role last year, or not last year, 2 years ago. I think Wright can kind of push into that spot. I hear you on the preseason game of like Wright was a little bit less inefficient than Gordon was in that one preseason game. My argument for you would be Wright was playing against a mix of starters and second string, and Gordon was going against the third string. Like that would be the other argument that I would give you there. So the competition was a little bit less. Other than that though, like I think all of these options are fine. I have mixes of all of them. I have some Gordon, I have some Wright. Unfortunately, don't have a lot of Achane, but I like them all, man. I think it all comes down to Tua, but this is a critical year for the Dolphins to me, because if they don't put it together this year, I think we could be seeing McDaniel out the door, and then once McDaniel's out the door, like I think Tua's job is in jeopardy, Tyreek's job is in jeopardy, and this whole thing could start falling apart.
Yeah, I can see it too, man. It could either surprise the hell out of all of us, or it could just fall apart and crumble apart and be a laughing stock.
Yeah,
We'll see.
I have
But one
a
thing confident in is that Achane will produce no matter what happens in both of those outcomes.
Yeah, I think for me, he's really the only asset. Like if we're talking like redraft or best ball or like single season formats, like even Dynasty this year, like he's the only asset that I'm supremely confident in. Everything else in Miami, I have questions about, but HN is the only one that I'm like, he's going to be a bona fide superstar this year.
Yeah, 100% agree.
I have a Dolphins fan friend who thinks the biggest mistake that the Dolphins made was firing Brian Flores a couple years back.
Possible.
So we'll see. Let's move on to the final team here in the division. I'm rocking the jersey. Josh Allen, the crown prince of the NFL at this moment in time. The Buffalo Bills, they are projected a win total of 11.5 games. Last year, they went 13-4. Go to the AFC East championship, or they win the AFC East. They go to the AFC conference title game, and they lose to the Kansas City Chiefs again. That's kind of the narrative, is they can't get past the Chiefs. But no coaching changes for the Bills. They lose Amari Cooper in the offseason, but they get Joshua Palmer and Elijah Moore to come in and be wide receivers. It's kind of just back to business for the Bills. Looking at the top 250 in ADP, it's the same names that you guys saw last year for the most part. Josh Allen, QB1, number one, or second in ADP, only behind Jamar Chase. I'll tell you right now, I'm not drafting Jamar Chase over Josh Allen. Point blank, period. James Cook, Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, Ray Davis, and Joshua Palmer round out the top 250. Let's just get right to the good stuff here. I think most of it is pretty cut and dry, but the wide receiver room this year, Keon Coleman's the highest in ADP for whatever reason over Khalil Shakir, despite the fact that Khalil Shakir outperformed him last year, and Joshua Palmer now added in as the wide receiver 3 instead of Coop. You even still have guys like Elijah Moore, like I said, some other players in this offense. What do you think about this wide receiver room, man? It's kind of like, this is kind of like the misfit island of toys here, where Josh Allen just makes it work, but I don't think there's any bona fide guys that are just like established.
Which I think is kind of a problem, man. They gotta have somebody in there that could legitimately replace Stephon Diggs, and it ain't no damn Keon Coleman. Josh Palmer, just Josh Palmer, don't care about him. Khalil Shakir, he's a decent wide receiver. I think that's the best label to put on him. I don't expect him to be a star. I don't expect him to be trash. I expect him to be solid.
Khalil Shakir is like the young Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, but Keon Coleman, I think age alone is probably what got him higher than Khalil and
Shakir's like
ADP. But he's
1 or 2
young.
years older than him. Like Shakir's
Oh
still on a
yeah,
rookie contract. Like he got his contract, but he's still on the rookie contract right now.
yeah, but Andrew, you know how people that play this shit is. If you're 25, you're 30. Like
Yeah,
that's
and there was
how they
there
look
was a
at it.
weird Keon Coleman hive last year of people that just fell in love with Keon Coleman.
The hive is still thriving. The hive is still alive. So, but
I just don't
consistent
see
from
it.
day one on this channel. We've been consistent in our alignment on not thinking Keon Coleman is too much to brag about. So,
I think he's a great athlete. I don't think he's a great wide receiver. That's just the best way that I can put it. I'm not going to be surprised, by the way, if Josh Palmer starts eating into Keon Coleman's role almost immediately. I think Palmer can be the big play down the field type of guy in this offense, and Coleman is going to kind of have to do that too. I think there's a stronger competition between Coleman and Palmer for 2025 than people realize. That's just my opinion. There's not a lot. Yeah, I think Palmer's a great value where he's at. I've been drafting him in best ball drafts all over the place. I will tell you, I don't have a bunch of Keon Coleman at his ADP. Shakir's the guy to own. Like you said, reliable, safe, dealing with an ankle injury right now, but it sounds like he's trending towards week 1 being available. He's the guy. The interesting piece to me, and I think the key cog to this whole thing is like, does Dalton Kincaid take the next step? Because they drafted him to be the guy, right? They wanted him to be the Travis Kelce. They even said it. We want Kincaid to be the Kelce to Allen like Kelce is to Mahomes. And he hasn't been. Now, I've heard that he's been having a decent camp and things are looking good. How do you feel about Kincaid right now?
Kincaid, still look at him as a young tight end with a lot of upside, just haven't reached that upside yet. But like I said, I feel like it takes a few years for tight ends to really grasp what they need to be doing, like versus the guys that come in as good from day one. I think the average tight end development window is a little bit longer. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kincaid finally got around to breaking out this season.
Are you good with that tight end 10 price, or is that like a little low where you still want to invest, or where are you at with tight end 10?
Who are the two people after him?
Let's look it up real quick. So looking at the list, the two guys after him is Isaiah Likely and David Njoku.
Yeah, I like Kincaid where he's at.
How do you feel about Kyle Pitts being ranked above Kincaid?
What is Kyle Pitts is number 9?
He's 9.
Move Kincaid above Pitts.
Okay, then the next guy would be Tucker Kraft. Do you like Kraft or do you like Kincaid more?
Move Kincaid up.
And then it's Hawkinson. You're not moving him over Hawkinson.
No.
And not Kittle.
No.
And not Loveland or Warren.
No and no.
And then it's Laporta, McBride, and Bowers. So you would move him up 2 spots to tight end 8.
Yes.
I don't fully disagree with that either. I think Kincaid is trending towards Pitts-like levels, but Pitts-like levels has like a 2-year head start on Kincaid, so I at least got to swap those two. But yeah, man, I think he's an interesting investment. I still am. I haven't sold any Kincaid this offseason. I had Kincaid in a few places. I have a Kincaid and Josh Allen team where I have that stack, so I'm still interested. The running back room, James Cook got his contract. Ray Davis is the handcuff. I think Ray Davis proved last year when Cook misses time, Davis can be a premium handcuff in this offense.
Yes.
But do you still believe that James Cook is the guy, undisputed?
I still think James Cook is the guy, but I also feel like Ray Davis has earned like a consistent weekly role in the offense.
Yeah, at the minimum, he's at least the kicker. Because have you seen him kicking field goals for this team?
Yeah. especially with the chances that James Cook is like maybe not like at peak performance because he wasn't practicing for a while, and Ray Davis was able to get that time. So there's a lot of factors that goes into it.
Yeah, I like Cook. I think he's pretty undervalued. A lot of people pointing towards touchdown regression, but also not acknowledging the fact that he kind of split time in this backfield last year. And I talked about guys with the home run ability, right? We were talking to TreVeyon Henderson having home run ability. James Cook has home run ability too. He has the ability to house it from anywhere. And we saw it last year. I think there was a week last year. Somebody fact check me, but I think there was a week last year where James Cook was playing the Dolphins and I was playing against James Cook in one of my leagues. And James Cook housed like 3 or 4 touchdowns in that damn Cam game. Destroyed me.
You lost that week, didn't you?
You have to. When James Cook puts 40 on your head, like, it's just, there ain't, and I think it was like Thursday night football, so there ain't shit I could do the rest of the week. I'm sitting here looking at a 40 piece from James Cook, and I'm like, damn, dude, I don't even want to watch Sunday's games now. But he has the ability to break any single game, same way his quarterback does, Josh Allen. Josh Allen, obviously the MVP for a reason. My QB1, I think your QB1 as well. The number 2 in ADP, I think he should be the number 1 in ADP. To me, he's the 101, undisputed. I think Josh Allen is set up again, to have another monster season. It's funny, the narrative, I don't know if you remember last year when we did this episode. The narrative was the Buffalo Bills are not going to be a good team. They can't recover from Stephon Diggs leaving, and Josh Allen's going to regress. That was the narrative. Go back and watch it. The receipt is there.
That's crazy.
Josh Allen said, fuck all of that. I'm him. And
Yep.
I think it showed. And I don't think there's anything about Josh Allen that should give anybody any type of worry. I think you could, for all intensive purposes, throw out a mix of random ass motherfuckers from the NFL, and Josh Allen would find a way to make it work. That's just who he is. And I don't really have much to say here other than I think we have another guy here in Josh Allen who's going to perform as the MVP. Also, by the way, last year's episode here, I said it was a bold prediction. I said that Josh Allen was going to produce 2015 Cam Newton type MVP numbers. By the way, I said that on this episode last year. What did he go out and do? Won the fucking MVP.
Yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it on that one.
And maybe it wasn't a hot take, but when the narrative, looking back, it's like, oh, Andrew, that's not hot. But when the narrative was what the narrative was the Bills are going to regress, I think it was pretty hot.
Yep, just like his wife.
All right. Well, let's just move on to the predictions. Speaking of bold predictions, and I want you to kick it off for me with your predictions here in the AFC East. Breakout, bust, and sleepers. Walk me through the list.
All right, breakout, Drake Maye. The athleticism is always on display. He got Josh McDaniels in the house now, and he just has the upside. He has a coach that has supreme confidence, that likes to break up fights and ends up being the one get hurt. And I think I feel like he has a chance to live up to people's expectations, but do not bury him for it. He's still young and he has developed. My bust is going to be Keon Coleman. I'm sorry, Keon Coleman, but when it comes to my confidence level in you, just look down at your jersey number. It's 0. I feel like you're a jump ball wide receiver, which you guys don't necessarily excel. Like you either if you ain't Randy Moss or Calvin Johnson or some shit like that, then you're not an elite jump ball receiver. And I just don't think you that dude. You're gonna have to prove it to me. But you funny though. Sleeper, Kyle Williams, highest upside in that wide receiver room in New England, has a young and ascending quarterback, Drake Maye. I think he could go out there and put some hats on people. He go out there and do his damn thing. He doesn't have, as far as like current star power, he doesn't have a lot of competition on that roster with an old Diggs and a very average Pop Douglas, so he can go out there and do his damn thing.
Yeah, I don't mind the list at all. Similarities in my list. Breakout for me is TreVeyon Henderson. I talked about him, man. I think he has Gibbs-like qualities, the acceleration that he has, the ability to home run any touch, and the fact that I think there's a real shot that he is maybe the number 2 receiver in his offense this year out of the backfield. I think he has the ability to be a fantasy football game breaker. The bust candidate is Keon Coleman. Look, I haven't been a fan of Keon Coleman historically. I don't think he has traits that match well with this offense, and I don't think he is really that good of a route runner. They brought in a guy in Josh Palmer who I think can take some of the big plays away, which would have been where I think Keon could excel in his own very hyper-specific role. But with Josh Palmer here, I worry that even a couple of those big plays are going to go to Palmer instead of Coleman, and the fact that he is the highest ADP in that wide receiver room, not a fan of it. The sleeper for me is Jalen Wright. Going outside of the top 150 or around the top 150. I said invest in the Miami backfield. If anything happens to Achane, somebody's going to be the next guy up. My guess would be Jalen Wright is the first to command those touches. I think he also has some home run ability, not the same way that TreVeyon does, but he has some pretty good speed. I think he also has a role here along Achane as an early down type of back. Spell him kind of similar to Mostert did. If it gets to like goal line situations and they don't go Achane, which it's still TBD, I think where that goes, but if they start giving Jalen Wright goal line carries, man, I think he's going to be such a value. So he's a sleeper for me. And that is my predictions here for the AFC East. There you have it, man. The AFC East under wraps. 6 of the 8 divisions done now. Only 2 left to go. We'll be recording those tomorrow. You guys will see, or we will be recording those tomorrow. You guys will be seeing those next week. Look, man, nothing really for you guys other than show us some love. If you like the show, you like the content, hit the like button. It is the best free way to show us some support. Also, go hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. You want to check out the other content we talked about. Like I said, 6 of those 8 divisions already, so there's a likelihood chance that we talked about your favorite team or some of your favorite players already for Dynasty. Also, go join our free Discord, hang out with us, join the community, talk some football. In there, we are holding a Pick'em tournament this year, trying to get to 50 signups for that. If we do, I'm going to throw in $100 of my own money on top of the prize pot, some League FFB merch for the winners, a guaranteed listener league spot next year in 2026 for the winner, and a whole bunch of other good stuff. It's also just a fun way to kind of get with this community, talk with us in a league, you know, have some trash talk, bragging rights, all that good stuff. Other than that, though, I don't have anything else for you guys. Ward, do you have anything for the people before we get out of here?
Yes. Come check us out on Crimson Mass Pro Wrestling. That's one of our YouTube channels where we post pro wrestling highlights in short form. And come check us out on the being currently renovated, currently under construction, the Crimson Mass Show YouTube channel where we do our long form content. Boom.
Hell yeah, man. All right, guys. Appreciate you. We'll see you on the next episode. Until then, though, peace out.